The USS Oriskany. She was a fearsome presence in the wars at Korea and Vietnam. She hasn't served the U.S. Navy in more than 30 years. Now a rusted veteran awaiting burial at sea. Spectacular footage from the hangar deck camera. A wall of water engulfs the ship.
Welcome back to Below the Surface. It's been 18 years since the Mighty O was sunk to become the Great Carrier Reef, and now we're back doing another tech dive on it. Chris and I are trying to get our tech dives up, getting our numbers up anyways, so that we can enroll in the Trimex class and then go just a little bit deeper. However, with the price of helium, it's freaking through the roof. So, eventually, we'll make our way to a closed circuit rebreather where we won't have to worry about helium and we'll extend our bottom time. And as we make our way down to 150 feet, here's just a little bit of history on the USS Oriskany.
By 1952, she was reclassified an attack aircraft carrier and truly became the Mighty O. She was a strategic player in the wars at Korea and Vietnam. Right through to the 1970s, the Oriskany was one of the busiest ships in the U.S. fleet. Oriskany's journey from warship to reef began in September 1976. After an eventful and storied career, Oriskany was decommissioned twice before finally being stricken from the Naval Registry in 1989.
And now it took from 1989 to 2006 before they officially sunk the USS Oriskany. In that time, there's a whole lot of other issues that they had to deal with. Transport, taking everything out of the ship that's not good for our environment, stripping all the copper, all the wires, all the fuel, all the paint, and eventually sinking it 20 miles outside of the Pensacola Pass to be an awesome dive platform for tech divers and advanced scuba divers alike. Advanced scuba divers can only hang around the superstructure for a little bit before they start getting into no decompression limits. Or tech divers, we get a little bit more time and go a little bit deeper. And for the crazy guys, you can also go inside, do a little penetration diving, and check out some of the old cool stuff inside the USS Oriskany. I've added an overlay of our dive plan. We use the app called Deco, for you guys that don't know. It actually is very well in line with our Shearwater dive computers, so they mirror each other, almost identical. Our plan is 150 feet for a total of 40 minutes. And as you can see, right there on the second to the top line, where it has the two arrows going left and right, that's pretty much our entire bottom time that we're going to be down there for. And the true benefit of diving with helium, as you can see on the far right column where it says EAD, that stands for equivalent air depth. And since we have helium instead of nitrogen, or at least a little bit of an offset of nitrogen, at 150 feet with helium, it's the equivalent of diving at 83 feet if we were just diving strictly air. And real fast, you guys check out the size of this red snapper. Probably the biggest one that I've seen in a long time. Back to the benefits of helium. It's not a dangerous gas. It's actually an inert gas just like nitrogen, but it just doesn't give you that narcotic effect at depth, which leads to less fatigue, less chance for nitrogen narcosis. And no, diving with helium is not going to change your voice while you're underwater.
One, you're not talking, and hey, knock it off. You guys better fix this.
Alright, that's better. I thought I was stuck like that for a second. So we'll remain down here at about 150 feet for what we call our bottom time, which is at 40 minutes. At which time we'll start making our ascent. Our first stop is at 70 feet, which we call a running Deco stop. Since it's only about 20 seconds, by the time we get there, it's time to make our way back up to 60 feet. Hang out there for 2 minutes, and then to 50 for 3 minutes. And then we'll get to 40. 40 is when we do our change from our back gas to our Deco gas, as you can see our mix goes from 25-25 to 70% oxygen. And then we'll sit there for 4, make our way to 30 feet, and then our longest stop at 20, hang out there for a little while, and then we'll make our way back to the surface. And there are still a lot of lionfish on the Oriskany. I am not confident enough in my abilities as a tech diver yet to bring a pole spear and my zookeeper with me, so I'm going to leave it at home for a little bit longer, continue to practice my technical diving skills before I start adding in anything else that's going to task overload me, especially at this depth with so much stuff to pay attention to. If you guys watched my last USS Oriskany tech dive, you'll notice that we're taking the same path that we took during that dive under the supervision of our instructor, Barry Shively. In the philosophy of keeping it simple until we gain experience as a technical diver, going the same path but without the supervision just makes it a little bit easier to focus on our skills and not too much of overloading ourselves. In the future dives on the USS Oriskany, Chris and I have decided that the next dive will probably be just around the superstructure, being that there's a lot of stuff to look at around that area and some pretty cool swim throughs. Don't necessarily have to go down to 150 feet. We can stay around 130, extend our bottom time a little bit longer, and explore that. And Chris also has a pretty cool camera. He brought it with us. So there'll be a couple clips in here where you see me diving from his camera. We'll go back and forth, but you'll see it says Chris's camera up top. This is pretty cool too because it's actually got the depth and the temperature of where we're at. Now, this area on the stern of the ship was pretty cool. This boat was still floating, still in service. This would be a pretty cool little hangout. Watching the ocean just go by. The flashlight that I'm using on this dive, I just got right before it. It's the Orcatorch D630 version 2. It's got 4,000 lumens in it and 3 different settings, so 4,000 in its highest setting. And it's got a lot of penetration. It's a canister light, so it's going to last a really long time, especially on these longer tech dives. I've always been a pretty big fan of Orcatorch. I think they make a pretty quality product, so you can't go wrong with it. And it's not really that expensive. It's probably one of their more expensive flashlights, coming in at like $660 full retail. But there's other ones out there that go for a heck of a lot more than that. This is my first time using a canister light, so I have to figure out how I'm going to work this cable. As you guys could probably see earlier in the video, it was hanging. And right now, it's about to cost me. Because that wire gets hung up on some of these barnacles. Luckily, I was able to get it out pretty easy. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that I blinded Chris pretty good as I was looking back trying to figure out how to get myself untangled. Just something to be cognizant of when you have extra wires hanging from you. That's why streamlining is pretty important. On some of these clips that I see from Chris, my trim looks pretty good. And then there's other clips. I'm like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing. Trim is one of those things that take a lot of practice, and you always have to be thinking about it until it becomes second nature, and then you're always in trim. But that's what's pretty cool about having these videos. And there's those wires that I was talking about. Camera wire hanging down. And then I lost a pin on my slate, so that wire's hanging down. What a mess. It was pretty cool to see sharks on this wreck again. Last time we were out here, we didn't see a single one. But then there's other times I come out and this thing is loaded with sharks. So it's pretty cool to see them. I'm glad they're back. Anytime I'm out diving on these artificial reefs, I'm always looking for old jigs that somebody loses while they're fishing. And I take them home for a little souvenir. They have quite the collection growing. So I'm going to pick this one up, but I'm going to take it with me too. This one's been sitting down here for a while. That's why we're just swimming around. Just to let you guys know that I just finished up my cavern certification with Jeff Laughlin. So I will be making a video about that process. And eventually I'll be working my way into intro to cave and then full cave. So I'm always trying to learn something. And I'll tell you that intro to cavern course, that was pretty fun. Went over to Jackson Blue Springs, learned how to run some line. And I tell you what, setting line isn't as easy as it looks. At least retrieving the line, that is. Especially when you have a pretty high flow pushing you out of the cavern. So you guys make sure you stick around. Check that video out. Right now we're communicating on where we're going next. We're going to go check out the catapult, which for the tech divers that dive this site, a lot of people call it the Star Wars, because, well, once you get in, it's kind of like flying in the Death Star.
Oh good, I can't maneuver.
Stay on target.
We're too close.
Stay on target.
Loosen up.
You guys are about to see a cool overhead shot of this part of the ship when it was still on the surface. So we'll come here, we'll swim this real fast, and then we'll start making our way back to the superstructure. Start our slow ascent up to our first Deco stop. As I'm swimming and I look back, you can imagine this ship launching its sorties in support of the Korean War and the Vietnam War. It's pretty amazing to think about.
4,500 men comprise this special purpose community. Engineers and doctors, pilots, steam fitters, postal clerks, aircraft mechanics, and firemen. From captain to seaman, they make this ship run.
This open area between the superstructure didn't used to be there, but it was pretty thin sheet metal, and after a couple of hurricanes, it was finally blown out, which ended up making a pretty cool swim through. So now you can actually just go in between. You don't have to go all the way around and just cut it in half.
In the old sailing ships, man was the key to power in a visible and tangible way. He trimmed the sails, manned the guns, carried the powder, boarded the enemy in hand-to-hand encounter. In the carrier, man is still the key to power, but he uses more complex tools and more exotic skills.
And right now is the mating season for the Goliath grouper, and they are loaded over on the East Coast. So I didn't really know if we're going to find any today, but we still had one just sitting down here on the base of the superstructure, and he was pretty big. Unfortunately, he's got a pretty big fish hook and line stuck in his mouth. Eventually it will decay and go away, but he's going to have a little piece of jewelry for a little while. And this is a pretty cool way to end a deco dive. Gives you something to look at as you're slowly going up to your first decompression stop, which in our case is 70 feet for 20 seconds and then up to 60 feet. So just kind of swim around, check everything out. If you guys notice that orange cup coral that is kind of plastered all over the superstructure, that's an invasive species. It's really pretty to look at, especially when the coral's out, but they do take over the entire surface area. That makes it a lot harder for native species to take hold. So just if you're wondering what it is when you guys dive on it, that's what it is, orange cup coral. And if you see it when the little fingers are out catching plankton, it's actually really pretty to see. And that's the bridge. You can actually swim in there, take some pictures, swim around, have somebody on the outside take your picture as you're leaning out the window. Makes for a pretty cool shot. Just be careful for fishing line if you do try to penetrate the superstructure, because there is a lot of line that could be an entanglement hazard. we're slowly making our way over to the anchor line. We're not doing a drift deco on this dive, so we are going to do our deco on the anchor line. And there is another group of technical divers that are on their first safety stop, so we're just kind of hanging out, lingering around, still at the depth that we should be, and we're just going to off gas while we're still checking out some of the superstructure. Once they move up a little bit, we'll move over and get on the line, and I'll show you guys a little trick for hanging on the line, especially when it's crowded. And here's one thing that I love about that Shearwater watch. It calculates your gradient factor, your surface gradient factor, and it accounts for your dive plan, whether you went to 150 feet and stayed there the entire time, or if your plan was 150 feet and you hung out around 130. It's going to give you credit for that. And then it's also going to tell you if you're on gassing or off gassing at certain depths. So while we were sitting there waiting to get on the line, you look at the watch and find out that I'm off gassing, and it gives you a little bit of a buffer. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't plan your dive and dive your plan, but your watch is going to give you a lot more information and do a lot of the math for you that you're not going to have the time or the ability to do while you're at depth. As for that trick that I was telling you about for a crowded line, this is a homemade John line. So I bought a pack of fishing rod leashes off of Amazon, put on a stainless steel bolt snap, and I'm going to wrap it around the handle, and then I have that bolt snap that I can either hang on by hand or I can clip it to my gear depending on how long my stop is going to be. And it gives me a little bit of separation from the line and from anybody else that's on the line around me. And you'll see how nice it is when I'm at 20 feet doing my longest decompression. And if you're wondering what I have written on the top of my watch, for those that aren't familiar with it, there's 3 things that are going to turn a dive. One of them is the total time to surface. As you can see, it's 46 I have written down there. My bottom time, which is 40 minutes, and then my tank pressure, my PSI. So if I get down to 1200 PSI, I know that's time to get to the surface. If my bottom time hits 40 minutes, I know it's time to start heading towards the surface. If my watch says that my total time to the surface, which includes all my deco stops, surpasses the time that I have on there, then I know that it's time to head towards the surface. And the easiest way to calculate that total time to surface before diving is subtracting your total run time by your bottom time. In the case of this dive, our total run time is 86 minutes. Our total bottom time is 40 minutes. The difference between the two is 46 minutes. And here's Chris. He's setting up his John line now, so we can just kind of sit and be spaced out and enjoy our deco. And if you made it this far in this video, you're either a hardcore scuba diver, you like my voice, or you just enjoy underwater videos. Either way, if any of those 3 match you, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And I'm going to sit on this safety stop, my last deco stop, for 27 minutes. So it's plenty enough time for you guys to head down to the bottom of the page, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and that bell notification icon, so you guys get notified when I upload these technical diving videos, or any of my caver diving videos, or anything that I upload. And on this long 27-minute deco stop, you can see these John lines are perfect. Right now, I have it wrapped around the anchor line and then clipped to my gear. So I'm just going to sit here and relax. And that thing's going to keep me pretty close to where I need to be. And now that our deco is officially complete, our last step before making it to the surface is to go back onto our back gas and get ready to hand off our Deco tank to the dive master on the boat to make it as one less thing that we have to worry about while we're climbing back on, because we are diving with devils on our back. And in the case of me and Chris, we're still diving with LP 108s, which are heavy enough not to be dealing with a aluminum 80 on top of that. So we'll stow our hoses and then we'll start making our way to the surface. As always, thank you guys for checking out the Deco stop, and until next time, I'll see you guys out there.